Hello and welcome to this morning's Liverpool news roundup here on Anfield Agenda. A bit of an unexpected video this morning. I wasn't really planning on making a video this morning in all honesty, but of course Arne Slot's press conference was this morning and of course he would bring us unfortunate news, wouldn't it? So look, Conor Bradley and Florian Wirtz seem to be out of the game at the weekend. We'll have a bit more detail on how long in a second. We have a positive update on Allison Becker. We have some quotes around Andy Robertson's interview on Diogo Jata, and we have some talk about centre backs in January. So please do hit the like button before we get into it. Hit the subscribe button if you're new, and yeah, let's jump straight into the quotes. Let's start off with the injuries then. So Arne Slot had this to say: Andy Robertson will be with us today. Allison trained last week and this week, so he will be able to play if things work out today. We do have some issues after the international break. Conor Bradley is unable to play. Florian Wirtz unable to play. That is far from ideal. And he said on that, both muscle issues. I don't expect Conor to be part of the next 22 days. Florian won't be that long. So look, far from ideal really having Conor Bradley out, considering that Jeremy Frimpong is also injured, so we're pretty much left without a right back at the minute. And it does beg the question, will we see Dominic Szoboszlai go back to right back as we've seen early in the season, or does young Calvin Ramsey get a chance, because he was fantastic when he did play, to be fair. So maybe he does get a run of games now that the two boys are out, which is just not good at all, because Conor Bradley was really getting up to the levels we really hoped he could get to just before the international break. And even Arne Slot was speaking about saying like the next step for him would be getting to a point where he can start to play 3 games a week in, week out. And obviously he's just not at that point just yet. Like, he will be out for the next 3 weeks now, according to Arne Slot. So look, his body is still catching up with the demands of the Premier League and stuff, and hopefully long term this won't be an issue. But at the minute we are left pretty much without a right back. So do let me know, would you start Szoboszlai at right back against Nottingham Forest, or would you give young Calvin Ramsey a chance? And I didn't even think of Calvin Ramsey initially, to be honest, but I've seen people on social media speaking about it, and I'd almost put him in, to be honest, because I don't think we can lose Dominic Szoboszlai out of midfield. Like, I'd rather have him in there and then stick Calvin Ramsey or maybe even Curtis Jones at right back. But I think Calvin Ramsey deserves a chance, which is a wild sentence considering, like, imagine you said in the summer, after all the signs we've made and all the money we spent, that we'd be excited about the prospect of Calvin Ramsey potentially coming back into the team as a decent player. Yeah, please do let me know on that one. On Florian Wirtz then, of course, Arne did say it won't be as long for him. How long that will be, we're not sure, but look, he's going to miss Saturday. I doubt he'll be back for Wednesday. I'd imagine, like, if he's out for a few days, he'll probably be rested against PSV. Get him back fit then for next weekend against West Ham. Is West Ham, isn't it? Yes, West Ham next weekend. Get him back for that game, hopefully. Again, let's hope this doesn't become a recurring thing. Like, we have to have our players fit, particularly our big money players. So it is very disappointing to see that he has come back with some sort of injury. There was no mention of any injury, to be fair, in like the news reports coming up to now. So hopefully it is just more of a precautionary thing rather than an actual injury. Hopefully maybe he might be back for Wednesday or at least next weekend. So hopefully it's not a big thing. But yeah, Florian Wirtz will of course be missed against Nottingham Forest. What does that say then for our midfield? I'd imagine we go back to maybe Gravenberch, McAllister, Szoboszlai, and then Cody Gakpo comes in on the left. I would have started Florian Wirtz on the left, as would Craig. He had that in his preview as well. But ultimately, yeah, I think Gakpo comes back in on the left, and then Gravenberch, McAllister, Szoboszlai midfield, and then either Curtis Jones or Conor Bradley at right back. But do let me know, what would you do with the team? Good news then, of course, that Allison Becker does seem to be back. Arne Slot basically said that, like, as long as nothing goes wrong today, he will be playing tomorrow, which is great news. Mamardashvili has been good, to be fair, but Allison is a step up, let's be honest. Like, it is his spot. He is our number one, and ultimately, if he's fit, he has to play. No shade on Mamardashvili at all, but Allison is just a next level goalkeeper. The best keeper in the world, in my opinion. So look, we have to get him in if he's fit. Let's hope nothing goes wrong today and he can start to get back into games. And like, I've never seen an injury prone goalkeeper in my life, but he does seem to be going that way in recent years. So let's hope this is the last one. Let's hope he can stay fit for the rest of the season, because it will be a massive boost, and he is the type of keeper that will win us points single-handedly. So look, great news that he's back, and yeah, really big boost for the Christmas period now that he's back. Arne did mention as well that Andy Robertson did not train yesterday for private reasons, which I think we can all guess what that was. I'd say he had a bit of a sore head, a head injury really, wasn't it? From the multiple nights out I'm sure he had with his Scottish teammates, and fully deserved. Scotland getting to the World Cup is just absolutely fantastic, and it's great to see him captaining that team to the first World Cup since 1998, I believe. So well deserved few drinks for Andy Robertson, a well deserved day off, but he is back in training today, so I would expect him to be in the squad for Saturday as well. Arne was then asked about Andy Robertson's interview after Scotland qualified for the World Cup, and he was speaking about Diogo Jata, and he was basically asked, like, have Liverpool been judged fairly given the grief and the circumstances around this season? And Arne had this to say: We are always judged, sometimes fair, sometimes unfair. I saw the interview live, and I know that it is an issue for us, which is, I think, completely normal. At these moments in time, I think about how it must feel for his wife and children, as it's so much harder for them than us. We miss the player and the person, that is completely clear. We are playing Forest, and last season we were 1-0 down there, and it took him a minute to score an equaliser. He played his part in helping us come from behind last season in games. We miss him as a person as well. But look, it must be so tough for those players. Like, every time they go into the dressing room, they can see his locker. They're constantly hearing the fans singing his name. And he was kind of asked about that as well, to be fair. Like, kind of asked, like, is it good to be reminded or not? And he basically said it is. Like, we can't really just move on and forget about Diogo. So there has been a debate on social media recently, like, whether people should be singing his song, whether we should still be, like, clapping on 20 minutes for him. And it does seem like the answer is yes, because we have to celebrate the man's memory. We can't just move on from it. And even Arne Slot backed that up in saying, like, it's nice to be reminded of a good dear friend like that. And but yeah, that Andy Robertson interview was just, it was so emotional. It was so sad to see. But yeah, I'm sure Diogo is somewhere smiling down on Robbo, and just delighted for him to be getting to the World Cup with Scotland, because it is a huge deal. And like Arne said, he said it multiple times in the press conference as well, like, as tough as it is on the players, like, his poor wife and kids, like, that is just absolutely incredibly sad. And yeah, just, we can't forget about it. Like, it is just this thing that will hang over this club for a long time, and rightly so, because like I said, we can't forget about him. Like, we can't just ignore it and push it into the background. We have to acknowledge it. We have to remember the man and honour his memory. So look, nice to see Arne addressing it. Nice to see Robbo talking about it as well. But yeah, it's something that will affect this squad for a number of years, I'm sure. To finish up then, Arne Slot was asked about the potential of signing a centre-back in January. Of course, there have been links with Mark Gahey. We believe that he has given his word to Liverpool that he will sign for the club, but we're not 100% sure whether that will be January or the summer. I think the club themselves don't even know that at this point. A January move does look more likely for Liverpool than any other clubs. There's been reports recently that pretty much every European team that wants him only wants him for free. So we could have a free run at him in January if we want to get him. But then again, do we want to pay the money? Would Mark Gahey want to leave Crystal Palace halfway through the season? There's a lot of stuff up in the air still. So, but Arne Slot had this to say: there are so many games to play before then, and with the position we are in, it's the last thing on my mind. It's not a topic for me at the moment. At this moment, we have 3 centre-backs, Van Dijk, Konate and Gomez, and maybe Ryan and Wataru, who can also play this position. So look, it's a little bit worrying to see him mentioning Gravenberch and Endo as centre-back options. Like, yes, obviously they can play there, but if we have to go on a run of games of 5 or 6 games, let's say, if Konate and Gomez are injured, like, I don't want to see Endo starting multiple games in a row. Fair enough, like in a cup game, or bring him on for 20 minutes at the end of a game to see out a game in centre-back or in the DM or something. But we can't seriously be looking at Wataru Endo and Ryan Gravenberch as centre-back options, particularly Gravenberch, because he's too good to take out of the midfield as well. So look, yes, I acknowledge the fact that they can play there, but that doesn't mean they're viable options. Like, we can't go on a run of games with either of those at centre-back and expect to be challenging for titles or winning Champions Leagues or even winning the FA Cup, in all honesty. So I do think we should get a centre-back in January. I don't really agree with Roy Keane's take that if we don't sign one, we won't even get Champions League. I think Champions League will come. I think we're going to get top 3 or 4 regardless. Like, as much as we are inconsistent, I think we are just a step up from the vast majority of the teams in this league, and we will finish in the Champions League spots regardless. But obviously, another centre-back in January would help us, the stability, the consistency, and just eliminate another repeat of that whole, like, Ozan Kabak, Nat Phillips, Reece Williams kind of thing of us having those centre-backs fit. So yeah, bring in another one anyway. Bring in Mark Gahey if he's available. If not, get someone else in, because we probably need another centre-back regardless, given that Joe Gomez and Ibrahima Konate's futures are up in the air as well. So yeah, go get a centre-back in January regardless. Just solidify our position in the top 3 or 4 and maybe make a push for the Champions League. But yeah, let's not be talking about Endo and Gravenberch as centre-back options. That's all from me anyway. Please do hit the like button before you head out. Hit the subscribe button if you're new. And I will see you very soon. Thank you very much for watching.